I became very interested in meditation right after high school, 2019,
Mhm.
2020, and got into Sam Harris's work, the Waking Up app, started meditating. And I guess I'm kind of feeling kind of comfortable to share a little bit more about myself than I would have otherwise planned for this podcast. But I think this is useful and really will help enrich the conversation. I was practicing non-dual meditation for about a year, although I would say, um, you know, thinking I'm doing non-dual meditation, but in retrospect, probably just very introductory mindfulness
Mhm.
in retrospect, and not actually cutting through the self in any meaningful way. Although it takes time, right? But
Yes.
I remember just having built up a lot of good meditative practice, I'd say. But then I had this episode with this one. Let's just say it was this pretty felt very emotionally catastrophic breakup with this one girl that I was
Mhm.
seeing, and that just threw me for a utter just disastrous, just life deranging kind of moment, this like tornado in my mental space, just not being able to cope with it, and just so much emotion and attachment, and trying to make things work. And it just like occurred to me um that I needed to look for some other tools apart from meditation.
Mhm.
Although one caveat I would draw there, based on my conversation with Sam Harris in 2021, is I hadn't done a prolonged meditation retreat, and so Sam recommended to me that, based on his experience, that and I did a conversation with him. It's available on my Substack in written form. He was saying that it's hard to have breakthroughs, really cutting through the self, without a prolonged retreat. Right, in 10-minute, 20-minute chunks, it's hard, and I believe that. I think there's definitely something to that. That it might be harder when you're just doing 10 or 20 minutes a day, and then
Mhm.
going back to your social media and your chaotic life. I think longer sessions really are helpful.
Yeah.
But I started to look for more tools, and then I got interested in psychedelics and psychotherapy, and started listening to other people like Gabor Mate,
Mhm.
Jordan Peterson talk about the role of psychotherapy and how our inner narratives like shape our reality, shape our consciousness, and how we interface with reality. And that really was just kind of the next evolution of my inner journey, was then getting into psychotherapy. And I'm going to map some of this out, maybe in a little bit, of just kind of what that's been like. But I get the sense that both of those uh, pathways um, are important, because meditation doesn't tell you, or meditation doesn't teach you what to replace your existing belief structures or thoughts with. I think that's one crucial point. If you agree with that, like
Yeah. I
meditation
mean,
like we all have these rigid toxic thought
mhm.
patterns, which psychedelics can disrupt those thought patterns,
Yeah.
or psychotherapy can break that apart. But like, what do you replace that with? And like, you won't get building a healthy self-worth just from mindfulness or non-duality. Like
Right.
I don't see any like direct connection. Now, I think you'll probably give a case for why
Right.
those two do gel together, but you don't get one from the other. And so I think it's important to kind of look at both.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a relationship between the two, and my version of non-duality does kind of continue even from uh, traditional non-duality, which can stop at no self or headlessness or absence of self, seeing through the self. In the tradition I'm in, that's still halfway there. That's not even halfway there. So then once you realize that this changing consciousness is not solid and it's not the center, you get to this, oh, absence, or it's not the center, not self. But then you have to recognize the awake awareness, the awareness that is the intelligence prior to thought. And then you recognize what's called same taste, which is that the awareness and the personality and the psyche are not two. And that actually is the non-dual of Buddhism, that and Mahamudra Buddhism, that isn't even talked about sometimes in Dzogchen style, or what's called non-duality in some traditions. So when that becomes embodied and then starts to see that everything that's arising is not other, it's not wrong, it's not bad, but it will keep being pleasant and unpleasant because we're in a human body, but there's a kind of a core view of it while it's kind of detoxing or clearing out or healing. It, the psyche and the body need to go through a process of almost, repairing from the first attempt by the ego personality of repressing negative emotions or trying to mentally change them or creating a persona. So that's got to like open up. And then the key is for both psychology and meditation, what is, as you say, what is the healing agent? Who or what is it? It's not just no self, it's actually this nature of mind or self with a capital S that is awareness based clarity that then isn't just a detached witness that's out here in the sky looking down, but is this ocean and wave, is this awareness that's arising as pleasant and unpleasant and parts of us that have kind of formed because they thought they were me at 4 years old and at 7 years old and at, as a manager that I need to get through life by being successful. And then another part's like, I'll never be successful. Everything is, I'm worthless. And this proves it. That right. Proves it. No, you don't listen to that part of me, So we've created this psychology of kind of overpowering our body. And what we're doing is upgrading to really the question is who or what is all of this occurring to? So that's where the non-dual Mahamudra style meditation and psychology come together. And that's where IFS has the same, what they call self, that isn't a part of us, but isn't other than the parts of us. It's inherent within, it's embracing, but it's not taken over by the grieving or angry or worried parts. The worried part arises, then we say, are you aware that there's a worried part? Yes. Can you give it some space? And now are you aware there's another part of you that's not worried? Oh yeah. Okay. Well, who's aware of both those parts? So you start to, that who or what becomes the advanced non-duality, becomes and it's where it actually comes back to be embodied.
Yeah, and you're talking about consciousness or pure awareness,
right?
Witness consciousness, like that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that pure awareness, or what anyone can just discover if the in between each thought. If you're just like, oh, I'm having thoughts. Once you realize you're not looking from thought, you're looking at thought, which is the what you learn in insight meditation. But then you say, oh, wow. But now you look back. Okay, so what is then aware of the thought and what's aware of the space between the thought? And when you look, you won't find a thing or a personality or psyche. It's odd, but it's just this alertness. It's just being alert. It's not even like fancy words like consciousness. It's just like you're alert.
Yeah.
But what is that? What is that? That feels like awareness. It's just aware. I'm just aware. But that is like, okay, but that seems like I am aware of a thought or a lamp. But it's like as if awareness is in the middle. But it's actually, no, awareness is aware of the thought or the personality. And once that becomes primary and you start to feel that, you realize, oh, but that awareness can't be hurt. And that this awareness isn't worried. And now, as everything arises, worry and fear and anger, it arises to this embracing sky. So it's the same concept in IFS as it is in this advanced non-dual Mahamudra style awareness. Yeah.